Hey guys, if you've seen 10 videos on what's wrong with your brake light on your F-150, this one's better. It's going to show you how to actually fix it. Not for 2 weeks, not shoving quarters in it, not teaching you, well, if you just wiggle this thing, it'll work. Nope, I'll show you how to fix it. So, stay tuned, like and subscribe. Appreciate you. I won't ever do you like that and just show you, well, if you wiggle this, this thing will go off for a week. I'm going to show you how to fix things. Okay folks, today we're going to deal with a brake light issue on a Ford cluster. We got it powered up here. You can see the brake light is illuminated. Oh, are you able to see? You're not able to see. There you go. Brake light is illuminated. And they state basically going over bumps and etc., manipulating the cluster to any degree, they can get the brake light to go off. However, 99% of the time, it's on. It's not the switch. The mechanics have verified it's not the switch. And this is a very common issue with these Fords, with clusters of this style right here. Unfortunately, they seem to all do this sooner or later. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I know basically what's wrong with it. We're going to see if we can drill down even deeper today and find out exactly what's wrong with it. So the first order of business is get it apart. I'm going to remove your lens off the front. I've seen a lot of videos where people shove things back behind here and try to get their Fords working by putting pressure on them in certain areas. And little temporary fixes maybe, but certainly not done right, not done correctly. I'm going to show you how to do them correctly. I may have already done a video on these once before, but doesn't hurt to do another one. Your little prindle here just slides out. If you ever send in these things in, I don't need this. It just gives you a better chance of losing it. So if you're ever sending these in to me, please keep that part. As a matter of fact, you can keep the lens too. It doesn't hurt to send it in without the lens, and that makes sure that way that it doesn't get broken. Because God knows what happens during shipping. Alright, so I can power these up on the bench with my handy dandy cord here. So I don't necessarily worry about setting the needles or marking the needles. At home, you take a pencil and mark the stop points. The stop points, as you rotate them back, you get to the stop point, and you just mark where that stop point is. That way you can accurately put them back when you're done with this process. Process of removing them is rotating counterclockwise with the upward pressure. And after you get that done, oh well, we should have already taken these screws out. We can do that now. If I can find my T15 bit. There we go. Got some T15 screws in the back here. After you get that out, this display here is got some pins that, see if I can get this faceplate peeled up enough so you can see. It's got some pins that go through and stick in a receptacle on the board. You don't want to twist around on this board, you want to come straight up with it. So this is where the pins are in the back, and what I do is I just straight up with it until those pins release. There's a little trick to getting them back in there too. If you just shove this thing back together, you're going to bend these pins. They hardly ever just line up on their own magically. So now that we got our board out, typically what I see is our problem is up in this area here. So let's get the power back to it and see if we can drill down on where the actual problem is. Maybe we can get it nailed down to one resistor. That'd be an absolute win if we did. Nonetheless, the reason I haven't drilled down and found out which one it is yet is because all of these are subject to failure. So I just reflow the whole area, and it needs it. It needs this area reflowed. What else do we do with these? There's header pins on the back where these things connect. That needs to be reflowed, and where that header is right there going through the to that display I showed you, that needs to be reflowed. I do that on all of these Fords that come in because they fail all the time in the same places over and over. So let's see if we can get it powered up. We don't have the display right now. This should be our brake light here. And I'm going to see if I can press on any of this stuff and get the brake light to turn off. I did see earlier that manipulating the board tends to cause the airbag light to come on and off. So this one may have multiple issues, but this little trick that we use, there's the one where the airbag light went off now. And we got the airbag light back on. And yeah, right there causes the airbag light to go off. And tweak on the board a little bit. You can get it back on. Let's get it back on here. And we're off again. So I'm back on, off, on, off, on. So yeah, that looks like it's associated with this. Alright, so what I was doing there was basically trying to make the resistor that's turning loose adhere to the board just enough that it affects a change. You're not always able to get it to do that, because if it's turned loose big time, then you have to resolder it all together. And sometimes when you're putting pressure on the board over here, put pressure on the board over there, you know, or maybe that circuitry, if you follow it, is all wired together. And you can have more than one failure point. Nonetheless, we still got a brake light on. So I'm going to start soldering. I'll try one thing at a time until we get it. I hope if I put my glasses on, seeing what I'm doing is always a plus. Okay, check our work.
Still steady illumination, so I don't recall if these things, when they're right, if they actually, oh, that one just fell completely off, so we definitely have an issue there. You heat up one side of the resistor and the whole thing just turns off or falls off. Typically you had a bad connection there. And they're still illuminated. This one did the same thing. I let go as soon as I touched one side. And I'm just watching for that to quit illuminating. It's supposed to illuminate when you first power the cluster up, but then I believe even on the bench like this it should go off.
Okay folks, I needed to add something in the middle here. So what we were doing was looking for the individual resistor that was going to magically make the brake light go away. And that wasn't going to happen because my bench setup does not have pin 2 and 3 grounded. So pin 2 and 3, see if we can get you in here where you can see this. Pin 2 and 3 go through this brake fluid level switch and it's looking for a ground. When the emergency brake is off, you will see a ground. When the emergency brake is applied, then wait, no. I think I'm backwards there. So when the emergency brake is off, you'll see the ground. When the emergency brake is engaged, the ground goes away, and that tells the cluster to turn the light on. Okay? It's not seeing its ground. It's actually got the ground all the way to the instrument cluster, and that is working properly. But when it gets to this connector, the fact that those resistors are turning loose, it no longer sees the ground. So that's your solution. That's why we couldn't drill down on it. I'm gonna modify my bench setup. We've already sent this cluster out and verified it worked and everything. So you'll actually see it's actually functioning repair here. But later on we'll make another video and we'll drill down on exactly what that damn resistor is. Not exactly where it is. That just drives me crazy. I've got to know. All right. Even though we do all those resistors every time anyway.
Alright, so like I said, we're going to go over these header pins where the power supply hooks up. Well, I mean, where the truck hooks up to the cluster, because these are notoriously bad. And this process is pretty straightforward. Just getting the pin hot, adding a little solder to it, Not a whole lot. You don't want it gobbed up. You just basically melting the old solder so that any cracks are eliminated. You do not want to bridge between these pins. That's why you don't use very much extra solder. Some of the questions that arise on this when I post videos about this stuff is, don't you remove the old solder? No. I just add a touch of new stuff. It's got a little bit of lead in it. I use 60-40 solder. And it's got 40% lead. They do not use that in the manufacturing process. They go with lead-free solder. And that creates a situation. Oh, the stepper motors sometimes have a problem. So you want to hit those. They will crack at times and cause an individual gauge to go out. So you want to hit those. Basically anything that's a through hole on this board. Through hole meaning that you got a pin that comes from the other side of the board to this side of the board. You want to hit those. It's not real often that those are a problem. The stepper motors, that is, but I have seen it. It doesn't take too much to just go over them. Do this stuff pretty quickly. That way we leave no stone unturned. Oh, I missed a stepper motor. One more. Okay. That should be all you need on this side of the board. This side of the board rarely gives trouble. I have seen this processor turn loose before, and that can cause trouble. That is a mother of a job to resolder that sucker. Has to be done under the microscope because it's way too easy to bridge between the pins on it, and so you've got to do that at a microscopic level. And I'm trying to remember anything else y'all need to know. Make sure your lights are working. All your lights, good way to test them while you've got this out is take your power supply and just power to one side, ground to the other. It should light up. If it doesn't, there's an issue. So we can test them all with my setup except for these three, and I'll test them over on the other bench because I've got no probes over there. That should be it on this one. That is how you properly get rid of that brake light. And unfortunately, like I said, the customer's not here, so I'm not going to be able to show you in the car that we got rid of it, but I assure you we did. And if you're seeing the video, you can be confident we got rid of the brake light. Alright, thanks a lot. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's put it back together before we end the video. That way y'all see that process too. Got a little ahead of myself. Alright. I'll set up on this other bench. I use different benches for different things. Usually this is my disassembly and reassembly bench over here. I like to keep my soldering station a little free of all the little components and such as I'm soldering, so that's a good one. Okay. I think I put everything over here this time. Oh yeah.
Got more pieces over here so we can get it back together. This likes to fall out. It's not hard to get back, you just have to identify where it goes. Well, it goes here, so that means should be a hole right here. I got a customer walking in, be right back. Okay, so this is the part where I was telling you lining this thing back up. It can be a real bitch. So you need to get some good lighting so you can see down in there. As long as you can see the pins going in the hole, then you're good to push in on it. If you can't see the pins going in the hole, don't push because you'll bend your pins over. And you don't want to bend your pins over because then you got to go and straighten them, and straightening them is a bitch. Let's see if we got this right. Hold it up. Good to go. Then you have bench power supply. It's pretty easy, just set your needles to 0. Get on the shaft. This one does start at 10, so it's a little different. I probably should have marked that one, but I kind of know where it goes just from experience. And we can check it again with the sweep. Make sure we get it right. I lied on the this one. We're at 13 volts. That is a little past halfway because it will actually read the voltage from the power supply. This one you want it just a hair below empty. Because nobody wants their gas gauge to be empty when it hits empty. Alright, so we're going to do our sweep test. Oh, hell, I held it down too long. Just as soon as it says test, you want to let go of it. There we go. And my gas gauge is way too high, and this one is too high as well, so we're just going to adjust those by turning the power off, rotating down, rotate down the amount that you want it, and then we'll power it up again, see where we zero out at. Gas gauge didn't act right. So what happens? The sweeps over here. It looks like it's too low now. So yeah, it's not even getting to full. Alright, so anytime you're adjusting these, you want to rotate around counterclockwise. And do a sweep test.
We're still a little high on the speedometer. Okay, I like where we're at there. This thing, as you can see, it's got the little tabs that push in to pull it out. And it is a whole lot easier to just pull this out while it's in the car than it is to get underneath that steering column and get this all disconnected and all that. So you want to just take it out in the car. Once you get it lined up, it just slides in. Let's go ahead and put our front on. And we gotta still get our screws in the back here. One last test. Sure, everything looks good. All good. Now we can get to that whole part where you guys click off and like and subscribe. My favorite section. Which means I got another job done. I made a little money. Maybe made y'all happy. We all learned something. Maybe we did. Anyhow, maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. Hopefully it wasn't a waste of your time. And hopefully I helped you out a little bit. I'm just going to be cleaning up here. And there you have it. See y'all on the next one.